Get Across the Market Open with Peter McGuire, who's joining us from trading.com. Peter, welcome. Can you explain what we've seen happening in the bond market? Because, of course, that's going to be so instrumental to what happens in equities this week.
Well, good morning, Nadine. I tell you what, the Scott percent put, and you saw a 10-year run at 473, a 2-year at 424. He's trying numerous strategies to try and naturally bring down bond rates. And you mentioned in your prelim as far as the Clarity Act, and I'm sure that stable coins and all of that will take a very interesting part to this whole equation. And I'm feeling as though that he'll have another crack at this over the next matter of weeks, very much leading into the midterms. And we've got Jackson Hole. So I'm not expecting a lot of news coming from Kevin Warsh as far as strategy or vision thinking as far as bonds. He's having a talk, and it's going to be implications for payments and policies, and that's not an economic one. So that tells me the stance that they're taking, and I feel as though that'll be the ultimate strategy: drive down rates, and every mechanism going back to the Kennedy era, of course, with the twist in '61. They rubbed it up again in 2011, and here we go again with Scott Bessent having a crack in '26.
Yeah, but will he be successful when there are so many external forces at work? When we're thinking about inflation, we're thinking about the Middle East, we're thinking about, all of these sort of unknowables at this time.
Absolutely. Well, that's the issue. I think, are you going to see success? And whilst there was the midpoint of last week, we did see 10 and 2 years come down, but now they've crept back up. So that tells me that maybe it wasn't enough firepower. Maybe it was just a shot across the bow to take on board the moving parts and see how it's all digested. You mentioned also Bitcoin running at 76 or 77,000. XRP's up 52% this week. And gold's had a big ratchet up as well, nearly knocking on the door of 4,700. So whilst we look and interpret what Scott Bessent's doing, there are other factors of the market that are very much enjoying it, Nadine, and I feel as though that will probably accelerate over the weeks ahead.
And the data is still coming in strong. I mean, we saw that with the PMIs, right?
Yeah, you betcha. So if you're looking at the Fed totally and what's happening as far as US economy, it's performing very well. You can't have let's look at the numbers as far as equities. You can't have an S&P running at nearly 7,700 and a Dow. What's that, 53 and a quarter? They're incredibly strong. We've got Nvidia earnings this week. It's going to be, again, fascinating. You've got PCE coming out, headline CPI, and all of those, metrics as far as inflation. So I'm not expecting any surprises. I want to really listen to Jackson Hole in Wyoming and what Kevin Warsh is going to present to the market. And if it's not going to be anything as far as projections with Fed fund futures and what's happening with dot plots and so on, then it's going to be, again, one of mystique, and that's what drives market sentiment.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so lots happening. Nvidia as well. Locally, we've got earnings season. I won't get into stock specifics with you, Peter, but we do have data due this week here locally. So what are you keeping an eye on?
I'm waiting for the data to drop, Nadine, as far as, everyone's looking as far as, the metrics. As they drop, what impact it has to market, sentiment, did it beat expectation, is it behind the curve, what's the storyline, and what are the moving parts across Asia as a whole. So I'm feeling as though that it'll be important to domestic traders, but if they're looking at the global situation, and that's really US CPI, how that's going to be factored in, and of course Jackson Hole, if it's a positive week and a positive tone, that'll lift our market, and we might be knocking on the door in a week or two of all-time highs again. So I'm feeling confident, and this quarter's turned into a very dynamic quarter, and I feel as though being just over halfway through, there's a lot of fun to be had yet.
All right. Yeah, well, especially when we've got RBA minutes and an inflation read. So the local inflation read will obviously be crucial when it comes to those expectations for rate hikes here. And we also get household spending locally as well. Peter, you did talk about commodities a bit there, but just tell us the situation with oil as it stands on this Monday morning.
Coming down a little bit. It's back about $1.86.20 on WTI, 93.50 odd for Brent. And it's given up a little bit of that hot steam in early Asian trade this morning. It's still far higher than what the market, well, maybe not the market participants, but certainly what the consumers are after. And again, what's happening with transponders being turned off, all of the issues engulfing naturally Hormuz and Iran's stance on all of this. It's a continuation. Let's hope for consumers and for consumption and everything that we see lower prices leading into the tail end of this quarter and certainly into Q4. That'll be a benefit for all from an inflation standpoint, GDP perspective, and overall economic health.